Legends of Origin, Book 3, Creator Species, Chapter 1. Liam McCaskill and the blonde Tridorian monk, Arthian Kendon, materialized in some sort of storage room. The Ta'akan spaceship onto which they had just teleported hovered above a large continent on the planet called Kepler 22b, or Laridia, as the Ta'akan called it. The two familiar black walls and floors, with tadpoles of yellow, orange, and red light streaking across the surface, greeted the two travelers. Tables of the same colors lined one wall, holding torture tools, with a door in the center. The other three walls were draped in black sheets, covering what Liam assumed to be torture victims. It reminded Liam of the room he'd found Arthian in not so long ago. He shuddered. "What now?" Arthian whispered. Liam adjusted the Ta'akan translation device clipped to his collar. "Now we find Lenora," he whispered back. Arthian glanced at the sheets. "I can do it if you want," Liam offered, seeing how ill the monk looked. Arthian shook his head. "I'll start on this side." Liam watched his friend move to his left. After a moment, he headed for the closest sheet to his right. If they were lucky, they'd teleported into the same room as Lenora, like Liam had done when he'd rescued Arthian from a similar fate. She was probably behind one of the sheets, although Abbess Shyla had seen her caged in her vision. Liam hesitated before pulling back the first sheet. The last time he'd performed such a search, nothing pleasant had greeted his eyes. He shuddered again as images of dead or dying, mutilated beings returned to his mind. Arthian gasped, and Liam released the sheet and swung around. The monk held back a sheet that had hidden the decapitated corpse of something unrecognizable. He dropped it as if it had burnt his hand, then moved to the next sheet. Liam turned and pulled back the sheet in front of which he stood. He breathed a sigh of relief. An empty wall lay behind it. He continued along the wall. They looked behind each sheet quickly, both wanting the unsavory job over and done with. Only one prisoner was still alive and conscious, a blue-skinned Zeflo woman who appeared virtually unharmed. It seemed the Ta'akan had only just started on her, since her only wounds were a few cuts across her partially exposed chest, as if she'd been whipped. She wore a translation device behind her left ear, so the Ta'akan had probably been questioning her. If she'd fitted the device herself, she would, no doubt, have chosen to attach it to her clothes, since it tended to pinch the flesh behind the ear. There was no sign of Lenora. "Impossible," Liam muttered to himself. "Could she be next door?" Arthian asked. "I suppose it's possible. That's not how it should work, though." "Maybe she's inside a cage, like Abbess Shyla saw. Or there are harvesters in the room with her. You wouldn't want to end up caged or materialize amidst a bunch of harvesters, so the crystals would accommodate for that, wouldn't they? Since they work together with mental power?" Liam stared at the monk. "I don't know." He looked at the Zeflo, the same species as his new friend Clarion, who was off somewhere in another galaxy trying to rescue his daughter from the same enemy. He wondered if this Zeflo knew Clarion. "I think it's a safe assumption," Arthian whispered. It took a second for Liam to realize the monk wasn't talking about this Zeflo knowing Clarion. He moved towards the door, but stopped when he saw Arthian striding towards the imprisoned Zeflo woman. "What are you doing?" "We have to free her," Arthian stated matter-of-factly. Liam groaned. He should have seen this coming. He was worried they would be discovered before they found Lenora, but he knew from past experience that it was pointless arguing with the monk. Liam went to the table holding the torture tools and selected the same instrument he'd once used to free Arthian, a pen-like tool with a thin hooked end. He used it to pick the locks on the chains spread-eagling the woman to the wall, and Arthian caught her when she fell. "Can you walk?" Arthian asked her. She looked confused, either unsure of where she was or why two strange-looking aliens had come to free her. Arthian shook her gently and repeated the question. She lifted her head with apparent difficulty and looked him in the eye. I think so. She tested her legs. A bit wobbly, but I think I'll manage, she said, then looked from Arthian to Liam and frowned. What? Who are you? There'll be time for detailed introductions later, Liam said. Right now, we need to find a friend and get out of here. I'm Liam, and this is Arthian. She nodded. I'm Tyria. Who is your friend? Liam described Lenora. A frown creased Tyria's smooth brow. I'm not sure if it's your friend, but one of your kind, fitting her description, was taken to be hunted. Liam and Arthian exchanged glances. This would make the rescue considerably more difficult. Liam frowned. Why, then, had the crystal teleported them here? As if reading his mind, Arthian said, Maybe she was running and the crystals can only take you to stationary objects or people, not moving ones. Still, Liam shook his head. It should have brought us closer to her than this. Inside the hunting grounds, at least. Maybe we are close by, Arthian said. Liam's frown intensified. It didn't make sense. You used a teleportation crystal to get here? Tyria asked. Liam nodded. Then I think I know why it didn't work the way you expected. The Ta'akan have new technology that interferes with teleportation. They call the devices teleportation blockers. So Lenora could be anywhere on this ship? Liam asked. Tyria nodded. She is on board, though, since the crystals brought us to this ship, right? Arthian asked. It's probable, yes, Tyria said. Liam grumbled. I didn't have this problem on the other Ta'akan ship. I told you the technology is new. I imagine not all their ships are fitted with it yet. Plus, they rarely share information with each other unless they stand to gain something from it. So it's possible not all their ships have it. Liam nodded. Now that we're already on board, will the crystals be more accurate? He asked, hoping they'd be able to teleport home okay when they were done. Maybe, Tyria replied, but I'm not too clued up on how it all works, so your guess is as good as mine. I don't suppose you know a Zephylo by the name of Clarion Kondrak? Liam asked, unable to restrain in his curiosity any longer. Tyria shook her head. Sorry, no. Liam was disappointed. Oh well, it was worth asking. He turned to Arthian. Ready? Arthian nodded, then asked Tyria, Do you have a way off this ship and somewhere to go? She shook her head. No to the former, yes to the latter. You can come with us if you want, Liam said, taking Arthian's elbow. We can sort out where you need to be once we've rescued our friend. Much appreciated, Tyria said, grasping Liam's arm. Liam, Arthian, and Tyria teleported into what could almost be a natural environment, save for the tadpoles of light Liam had grown accustomed to seeing in Ta'akan spacecraft, bathing everything in an eerie red, orange, and yellow glow, like some sort of malevolent sunlight. Tall trees, thick shrubbery, and large boulders surrounded them, and there was even what appeared to be the base of a mountain in the distance. Arthian ran his fingers along the nearest tree's branches. It's fake. Liam looked closer. Arthian was right. The plant life was all plastic. It made sense that it would have to be, for none of it would grow without sunlight or some form of light that mimicked it, and there weren't any growth lights that he could see. I assume it makes the hunting more fun, Tyria said. A shrill cry cut the air, and beating wings overhead ruffled Liam's hair. Half ducking, they all looked up. A golden-furred ryokin flew overhead. The thought of the majestic saber-toothed creatures being hunted angered Liam. He clenched his hands at his sides and sent an urgent message to the great beast. "We can free you. Are there others of your kind on board?" The Ryokin must have sensed his bond with one of its kind, for its telepathic answer was immediate. "I'm the last." Tyria looked terrified. Arthian patted her arm. "Don't worry, he won't hurt you. His kind is sentient and a friend to all who mean them no harm." The Zephylo didn't seem convinced. The Ryokin landed in front of Liam, and Tyria cowered behind Arthian. Liam frowned. Ryokin could teleport, so why, then, was this one still captive? The thought of the Ta'akan's new device working against natural teleporting, too, gave Liam the chills. The Ryokin must have caught his thoughts. "Something here prevents me. Even my calls for help bounce back at me in this part of the ship. What device do you speak of?" So, the Ta'akan's new toy did mess with natural teleportation too, Liam thought, looking around. There was still no sign of Lenora. He was about to answer the question when the Ryokin's frenzied thoughts rushed into his mind. "Hide!" the Ryokin urged. "The hunters come!" It took off again, and Liam followed without hesitation, with Arthian pulling Tyria along close behind. Behind a boulder, with the Ryokin perched on a tree branch above, they waited for the Ta'akan to pass. When they were gone, Liam looked around for Lenora, then asked the Ryokin if he'd seen her. He had. "He knows where Lenora is," Liam said. Arthian beamed. "That's great." They followed the Ryokin, whose name was Keelar, to the edge of the trees. Before them lay a vast expanse of what appeared to be desert sand. Liam frowned at it. "The Ta'akan tell us that any who make it through that pass." The Ryokin turned to look at the mountain pass at the far end of the desert. "Will be returned to their home world free." He paused. "It's fraught with traps. On the ground, concealed holes too deep to climb out of, and above, dragons. Too many for only a handful of Ryokin to defeat." "Death-breathing dragons?" Liam asked. The Ryokin looked astonished. "There's another type." Liam shrugged. "Lenora's somewhere in there?" "She's fallen into a trap. I would have rescued her, but the dragons were near, and I have no death wish." "I don't see any dragons," Liam said, scanning the skies. "Where do they come from? Have you seen?" "They appear from out of nowhere." Keelar locked eyes with Liam. "The Ta'akan must have found a way to make them invisible." "That can't be good," Arthian said, sounding annoyingly cheerful. "Can we get to Lenora?" He turned to Keelar. "And can you carry her out if she's injured?" Keelar hesitated. Liam caught a glimpse of the Ryokin's thoughts before he blocked them. The majestic creature was sick of running and hiding. He wanted out, one way or another. It seemed his lack of a death wish came and went from moment to moment. The strain of being hunted was taking its toll. "You'll make it to her if you follow her footprints in the sand. Once you've got her out," Keelar said. "If she cannot walk, signal me. You'll need to make a run for it, and it's a long way to go with dragons breathing death down your neck." Liam groaned when Keelar told them exactly where Lenora was. She'd hardly made it 10 meters into the desert before falling into the trap. It meant the run to the pass would be a very long one. And if the traps didn't get them, The death-breathing dragons most likely would. Wait, I teleported us here. I can teleport us out. I know you said you can't teleport out of here, but you don't use crystals to teleport. Maybe they will work. Not from this part of the ship, they won't, Tyria reminded Liam. Remember, they have a new invention that blocks teleportation, no matter how it's achieved. It filters into other parts of the ship too, but the effects aren't as strong. You probably didn't arrive exactly where you'd wanted to when you teleported on board. The Ryukin looked at Liam, who nodded. Then you're stuck here. But I teleported in, Liam said dumbly, unable to accept that he didn't have an easy way out. Tyria shrugged. It shouldn't have worked. Liam scowled. Well, it did. Why didn't you tell us this earlier, before we got ourselves stuck in here? I was a bit out of it in case you have short-term memory problems, Tyria returned the scowl. Liam ignored her and turned back to Keelar. You don't think the Ta'akin will stick to the deal if we make it through the pass? Keelar snorted. Do you? No, Liam scowled again. Then it's impossible. We'll all end up in traps or killed by the dragons. He glanced up for a moment, then asked Tyria, how do the Ta'akin get in and out when they come to hunt? They wear devices that counter the effects of the teleportation blocker. They teleport in. Perhaps one was in use nearby when we teleported, Arthian offered. Could be, Liam said thoughtfully. Maybe we hijacked it without realizing. He thought for a moment. So, if we could capture a Ta'akin, we could use its device to teleport out of here. So we don't go for the pass, Arthian said. We grab Lenora and then go Ta'akin hunting. From behind Arthian, Tyria murmured, The hunter becomes the hunted. The group reached a thicket of trees and Liam placed Lenora on the fake grass. The teenager's long brown hair fanned out around her face, making her appear so fragile that even looking at her might cause her harm. He wondered if she was astral traveling at the moment. Regardless, she was currently oblivious to the leg she'd broken falling into the trap. Liam contemplated Abbess Shyla's vision, the one that had brought him to Lenora's rescue in the first place. The Abbess had said that Lenora was in a cage, shackled and gagged in her vision. Did that mean she would have to be rescued a second time at some point in the future? Or had she been caged before their arrival? He made a mental note to ask when she awoke. Liam and I should capture a Ta'akin, Arthian said, surprising Liam. Keelar, you should stay here to guard Lenora. He paused. Can we place her on your back in case you need to flee? I should go, Keelar protested. I can scout ahead. It'll be harder for them to catch me. None of us can carry her and run at the same time, Arthian argued. If the Ta'akin come, you're her only chance of survival. Keelar ruffled his feathers and huffed. I'm coming with, Tyria said, finally stepping out from behind Arthian. The Ryokan eyed her. I think it's better if you stay here, Liam said. She opened her mouth to object, but he continued. If the Ta'akin find you guys, they'll have to split up to follow you and Keelar. It'll give you both a better chance of survival if they catch you. Tyria glowered, her cheeks turning vaguely purple. I'd rather be doing something productive, she insisted. Please, Liam said. We freed you of your chains, and we're going to help you get out of here. Just let us do this our way, okay? We don't ask for much in the line of gratitude, but if you want to repay us, let's save time by agreeing to do this our way. Tyria sighed, her cheeks returning to their usual blue. Okay, but only because you're allowed to play that card once. Deal. Sensing Keelar's agreement, albeit reluctant, Liam placed Lenora on the Ryokin's back, making sure her legs fell into the natural grooves along his side. His skin flaps closed over her legs to prevent her from falling off. Right, Liam said. Let's get moving. He nodded at Keelar and Tyria. See you soon. Liam followed Arthian discreetly, keeping behind bushes and boulders as much as possible. The idea was to let a harvester find Arthian, then Liam would shoot it from behind. It felt cowardly, but it was the best way to ensure success without injury. They risked being outnumbered and shot, though, since they had no way of knowing if the harvesters hunted alone, in pairs, or in parties. Arthian wondered why God would allow them to be trapped like this. Your God is a harvester, a nasty voice screeched in his mind. No, he argued with himself. My God is the creator of all, the one who created the harvester's creators. Arthian took a deep breath. He had to stop doubting before he lost his place of wellness in the afterlife. Just when it seemed there were no Ta'akin hunting right then, a broad-shouldered specimen stepped around a tree just ahead. It started when it saw Arthian walking boldly in the open, and then its lips twisted in a malicious grin and it raised its weapon. Without hesitation, Liam raised the gun the Templar knights had given him, aimed it at the Ta'akin, and fired. Arthian ducked, and the Ta'akin fell. Liam raced past the monk, put another bullet in the Ta'akin to make sure it was dead, and then scanned the trees for signs of more. When he was sure the Ta'akin had been hunting alone, he knelt next to the corpse. A triangular pendant hung from its neck on a leather cord. It was silver with what looked like a rose quartz triangle in its center. A search of the body revealed nothing else that might be the teleportation blocker, so Liam took the pendant and hung it around his neck, where it clinked against the clear quartz pendant Varric had given him. Liam hoped the two crystals wouldn't interfere with each other's functioning. They headed back to where they'd left the others in silence, this time slipping in between trees and behind boulders when they heard the Ta'akin's heavy footfalls approaching. They stopped just short of the clearing when they heard gruff Ta'akin voices. Liam was glad he wore the Ta'akin translation device. Two Ta'akin stood over Keelar, who lay unmoving. Lenora sprawled nearby, still unconscious, and Tyria was nowhere to be seen. I'm telling you, she's not supposed to be here, the taller Ta'akin said. The other said, That's impossible. There must be a glitch in the system. There isn't, I checked. We're wasting our time. Let's shoot her and go after the other one. The taller Ta'akin's bone collar flared in what Liam recognized as agitation. Look at her. She's been questioned, and by the looks of her, they'd hardly started. They'll want her back. He gave his companion what Liam imagined was a pointed look, three eyes narrowing. Alive. Fine, but I'm not taking her back. It's my time off, and I'm enjoying the hunt. The two Ta'akin stared at each other for a moment. Then the taller one said, So we agree. We didn't see her. The second Ta'akin nodded, and they moved off without a backward glance at Lenora. When they were out of sight, Liam hurried to Lenora's side, while Arthian went to Keelar, presumably to check if the Ryokin was still alive. Lenora stirred when Liam rolled her onto her back, then slipped back into unconsciousness. Liam made her comfortable and went to stand behind Arthian, who sat on his haunches next to the Ryokin. He's dead, Arthian whispered, running his fingers through the Ryokin's golden fur. A twinge of sadness went through Liam, then anger that such a wondrous being should die hunted like an ordinary animal. He swallowed bile. He would have died here eventually anyway. His words felt as hollow as they were. It was no consolation when the Ryokan had died so close to freedom. Artheon swallowed. We should rescue Tyria. Liam scowled. Why? If she hadn't run away like a coward, maybe Keelar would still be alive. Artheon rose to his feet and returned Liam's scowl. I doubt it. He glanced down at the Ryokan, then back at Liam. They're hunting. They wouldn't announce themselves. It's probable that Keelar being shot was their first warning of danger. Liam sighed. They couldn't leave Lenora alone, and going after Tyria carrying the unconscious teenager would slow them too much. They'd never catch up. He sighed again, fingering the triangular device that would enable them to teleport to freedom. It was tempting to just leave. They had what they'd come for. There was no reason to stay on board. It's the right thing to do, Artheon said. Liam remembered what Lenora had told him just a few months ago. One cannot always discern ultimate right from wrong, but one must always make the choice that feels right. Unfortunately for them, it didn't feel right to leave Tyria to the Ta'akan hunters. Besides, Liam wanted to know why the Ta'akan were questioning so many species. What was it they were looking for? Liam groaned, rubbing his forehead. I'll go. You stay here with Lenora. Maybe try to hide her a little better? Artheon nodded, looking unhappy at being left behind. Liam removed the triangular pendant from around his neck and gave it to Artheon. Put this on. He gave Artheon a pointed look. If you're discovered, if it's the only way to save Lenora, use it.